It began with what many assumed would be a routine royal request, one quietly submitted through official channels and expected to receive little resistance. But when Queen Camilla's proposal to host a prestigious gala at Buckingham Palace landed on Princess Anne's desk, something unexpected happened. Instead of approval, delays followed. Then silence. And finally, a response so firm that palace insiders immediately sensed a storm was brewing behind the gilded walls of the monarchy. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. At first, few people paid much attention to the request. After all, royal galas are hardly unusual. They have long been part of the monarchy's public image, bringing together influential donors, charitable organizations, foreign dignitaries, and prominent supporters under one roof. Reports suggested that Camilla's proposed event was intended to be a major occasion, one capable of attracting significant attention both within Britain and abroad. Senior figures were expected to attend. Important charitable causes would reportedly benefit. On the surface, it appeared to be exactly the type of gathering Buckingham Palace had hosted countless times before. That assumption, however, began to unravel almost immediately. According to royal insiders, officials responsible for reviewing the proposal initially believed approval would be little more than a procedural step. The palace had the space. The event appeared legitimate. The guest list was said to be impressive. There seemed to be no obvious reason for concern. Yet as the paperwork moved through internal channels, something changed. What should have taken days reportedly stretched into weeks. Questions were raised, clarifications were requested. Additional reviews were conducted. Soon, whispers began circulating among palace staff. Why was the process taking so long? Why had Princess Anne become personally involved? And perhaps most importantly, what exactly was causing hesitation behind closed doors? Those questions only intensified as silence replaced certainty. Individuals familiar with royal operations reportedly noticed an unusual lack of communication surrounding the proposal. Meetings were held, discussions continued, yet very little information emerged. For an institution built on structure and procedure, the delay itself became a story. Some insiders quietly speculated that concerns had emerged regarding protocol. Others believed the issue centered on precedent and the symbolic importance of Buckingham Palace itself. There were even rumors that senior figures worried about how the event might be perceived during a period when the monarchy was already navigating significant challenges and heightened public scrutiny. Whatever the reason, one fact became impossible to ignore. Princess Anne was treating the request with a level of seriousness that surprised even experienced royal observers. That alone was enough to fuel growing speculation. Anne has never been known for dramatic gestures or public confrontations. Throughout decades of royal service, she has earned a reputation for discipline, duty, and an unwavering commitment to the institution. If she was delaying a proposal that many believed should have passed effortlessly, there had to be a deeper explanation, and as the days passed, more people began searching for it. Then came the answer. The request would not move forward. The gala would not receive the approval many had expected, and almost immediately attention shifted away from the event itself and toward the woman who had stopped it. But the rejection itself was only the beginning, because questions quickly emerged about why Anne was willing to take such an extraordinary stand. For years, Princess Anne has operated far from the headlines, yet few figures inside the monarchy command more respect. Known for her relentless dedication and unwavering loyalty to royal tradition, Anne rarely intervenes publicly. That is precisely why this reported decision sent shockwaves through palace circles. If Anne was prepared to oppose such a high-profile request, many believed there had to be reasons far deeper than anyone initially understood. The questions surrounding the rejected gala did not fade after Anne's decision. If anything, they intensified. The more people discussed the refusal, the more attention shifted toward the woman at the center of it. For decades, Princess Anne has built a reputation unlike any other member of the royal family. While others attracted headlines, controversy, or public fascination, Anne became known for something far less glamorous but infinitely more powerful inside palace walls: trust. It is a quality that cannot be inherited, purchased, or manufactured. It is earned over years of service, consistency, and discipline. And according to those familiar with the inner workings of the monarchy, few have earned more of it than Anne. That reputation matters because Anne is not known for inserting herself into disputes without reason. Royal events come and go. Charitable functions are proposed every year. Guest lists are reviewed, schedules are adjusted, and venues are approved with little public attention. Yet this situation appeared different. The fact that Anne reportedly became personally involved immediately elevated the significance of the matter. Palace observers began asking a simple but troubling question. What did Anne see that others had missed? The answer, according to growing speculation, may have had less to do with the gala itself and more to do with the institution it would represent. Throughout her life, Anne has been viewed as one of the monarchy's strongest defenders of tradition, not because she resists change for the sake of resisting it, but because she believes certain boundaries exist for a reason. Those boundaries protect continuity, they preserve public trust, and perhaps most importantly, they ensure that the crown remains larger than any individual personality. That belief has reportedly shaped countless decisions behind closed doors. Senior palace staff are said to value Anne's judgment precisely because she approaches matters through the lens of institutional responsibility rather than personal preference. While others may focus on popularity, optics, or public relations, Anne's reputation suggests she asks a different question. What serves the monarchy itself? As rumours continued to circulate, many insiders became convinced that this principle lay at the heart of the controversy. Buckingham Palace is not simply another venue. It carries enormous symbolic weight. Every event held there becomes connected to the image of the monarchy. Every gathering reflects upon the institution's identity. And according to whispers emerging from royal circles, some believed the proposed gala risked creating questions about where that line should be drawn. The more those concerns spread, the more the rejection appeared to represent something larger than a disagreement over scheduling or protocol. Suddenly, people were discussing authority, influence, and the invisible boundaries that govern royal life. Anne's decision was no longer being viewed as an isolated action. It was becoming a statement about the responsibilities attached to the crown itself. And as officials examined the proposal more closely, attention shifted toward the event itself and what it might have represented. At first glance, the gala appeared elegant, charitable, and entirely appropriate for a royal setting. Yet behind the polished plans and prestigious guest lists, some insiders reportedly saw a different picture emerging. Questions surfaced about influence, visibility, and the symbolic message such an event could send. What seemed like a celebration of philanthropy was suddenly being discussed as a potential turning point in an already delicate royal power balance. That was why Anne's reported intervention carried such force. The proposal was not being judged only by its guest list or its charitable purpose. It was being weighed against something far heavier, the meaning of Buckingham Palace itself. For the public, a gala inside those walls can look like a glittering royal occasion. For palace officials, however, it can become a statement. It can suggest endorsement. It can elevate certain causes, certain figures, and certain relationships. And in a monarchy where symbolism often speaks louder than any official announcement, that distinction mattered. Reports suggested the event was expected to draw major media attention. Influential donors were allegedly involved. Public figures were said to be connected to the planning. On paper, this may have strengthened the proposal. It promised reach, prestige, and visibility. But inside the institution, those same strengths may have raised uncomfortable questions. Who would stand at the center of that visibility? Who would benefit from the photographs, the headlines, the conversations, and the quiet sense of influence that follows any major royal gathering. That question reportedly changed the mood. What had first seemed like a charitable evening began to look, at least to some observers, like a carefully positioned claim to prominence, not necessarily through words, not through open confrontation, but through atmosphere, access, and association. The monarchy has always understood that proximity is power, a seat at the right table, a name on the right invitation, a presence inside the right palace. These things can shape public perception without a single formal decree. And that, insiders believed, was where Anne's concern may have sharpened. She was not simply asking whether the gala could be hosted. She was asking whether it should be. There is a difference. One is administrative, the other is constitutional in spirit. Buckingham Palace is more than an event space. It is the symbolic heart of the crown, a place tied to duty, continuity, and national identity. To use it for a major public-facing event requires more than elegance. It requires purpose that cannot be questioned, motives that cannot be misunderstood, and timing that does not place personal influence above institutional stability. As palace discussions reportedly grew more tense, the debate moved beyond schedules and seating plans. Concerns allegedly emerged about how the event might appear during a sensitive period for the royal family. Would the gala be viewed as service or as self-promotion? Would it strengthen public trust or create another storm of interpretation? Those were not small questions. They cut directly into the fragile balance between royal duty and personal ambition. By then, the proposal had become too loaded to treat as routine. Every detail seemed to carry meaning. Every possible approval risked being read as permission for something larger. And once that realization settled inside palace circles, the entire review entered dangerous territory. The deeper the review went, the more observers began to wonder whether the issue was really about a gala at all. What had started as an administrative review soon evolved into something far more significant. Conversations that were meant to remain private reportedly spread through royal corridors, drawing attention from senior aides and longtime palace advisors. As speculation intensified, many began asking whether deeper disagreements had been quietly developing for months. Suddenly, a single event request seemed connected to a much larger story unfolding behind closed doors. By this stage, the discussion had moved far beyond the gala itself. The original proposal remained at the center of the controversy, but it was no longer the only issue commanding attention. What truly unsettled palace insiders was the growing realization that different people appeared to be viewing the situation through completely different lenses. Some reportedly saw a charitable event being unfairly scrutinized. Others believed the review had exposed concerns that had been quietly building beneath the surface for a long time. That divide created an atmosphere unlike anything many palace staff had expected. According to reports circulating among royal observers, conversations became increasingly intense as senior advisors weighed competing perspectives. On one side were those who believed the monarchy needed to continue evolving, embracing new approaches and new opportunities to connect with influential supporters. On the other side were figures who reportedly feared that certain boundaries were becoming blurred. To them, the issue was not resistance to change. It was about protecting distinctions that had long defined the institution. The deeper those discussions went, the more Buckingham Palace itself became a symbol of the disagreement. For generations, the palace has represented continuity, authority, and the enduring identity of the crown. It exists above individual personalities, surviving changes in leadership, public opinion, and family dynamics. That symbolic importance made every question surrounding the gala feel larger than it otherwise might have been. Approval would send one message, rejection would send another. Neither choice appeared free from consequences. As the debate expanded, new questions began surfacing behind closed doors. What role should tradition play in shaping future decisions? How should the monarchy balance public engagement with institutional neutrality? And perhaps most importantly, who should determine where those lines are drawn? Those questions carried weight because they touched on the future itself. The monarchy was already navigating a period of uncertainty. Public expectations were changing, generational transitions were underway. Relationships within the royal family remained under constant scrutiny. Against that backdrop, even seemingly routine decisions had the potential to take on unexpected significance. The Gala review had become a focal point for larger anxieties, frustrations, and competing visions about where the institution was heading. Insiders reportedly described a growing sense of tension, not open conflict, not dramatic confrontations, something more subtle and in many ways more powerful. A feeling that important questions were being debated without clear answers. A feeling that the outcome of this single decision might reveal far more than anyone originally intended. That was why whispers continued spreading despite efforts to contain them. Every delay attracted new speculation. Every private meeting generated fresh theories. Every unanswered question encouraged people to search for hidden meanings. What had begun as a straightforward proposal was now being interpreted as evidence of deeper divisions, deeper concerns, and deeper struggles over influence inside one of the world's most closely watched institutions. And then, just when many believed the discussions would remain hidden behind palace walls, everything changed. The secrecy that had protected the debate began to crack. Information started reaching the outside world. Rumors accelerated. Interest exploded. Then came the moment that transformed whispers into headlines, the decision that no one expected to become public. When Princess Anne's answer finally arrived, it reportedly left many observers stunned. The request was denied. No dramatic public statement followed. No official confrontation appeared before cameras. Yet within royal circles, the message was unmistakable. A proposal that had once seemed destined for approval had been firmly stopped, creating a wave of speculation that quickly spread far beyond palace gates and into the international spotlight. What made the decision so remarkable was not simply the rejection itself, but the speed with which it transformed into a much larger conversation. Within days, commentators, royal watchers, and palace insiders were no longer discussing a gala. They were discussing power, they were discussing influence, and they were discussing the invisible forces that shape the future of the monarchy when difficult choices must be made. Reports suggested Anne's refusal was unusually decisive, leaving little room for ambiguity. That clarity immediately fueled intense interest. Some viewed the decision as a necessary defense of long-established royal traditions. Others questioned whether it reflected deeper tensions that had been hidden from public view. As competing interpretations emerged, one thing became increasingly clear. This controversy had touched a nerve far beyond a single event proposal. Questions reportedly began circulating about Camilla's reaction, while media outlets searched for explanations behind the unexpected outcome. Every rumor generated fresh theories. Every theory sparked new debate. The story quickly became one of the most discussed royal developments of the year, not because of what had been denied, but because of what the denial appeared to symbolize. Royal observers quickly realized this was about more than a single evening event. The controversy touched on questions that have followed the monarchy for years: who shapes its direction, who protects its traditions, and who ultimately holds influence when difficult decisions arise. What looked like a procedural dispute suddenly became a symbol of competing visions for the institution's future during a period of enormous uncertainty. At the center of those discussions stood Buckingham Palace itself. To many, it was never simply a venue. It represented continuity, authority, and the enduring identity of the crown. That symbolism elevated every aspect of the debate. Approval would have carried meaning. Rejection carried meaning as well. And because Anne had taken such a firm position, many interpreted her decision as a powerful statement about institutional responsibility over personal preference. As public fascination grew, broader questions about the monarchy's future direction began entering the conversation. Was this evidence of a changing balance within royal circles? Did it reveal a renewed commitment to tradition? Or was it merely the first visible sign of deeper debates that had been unfolding privately for much longer than anyone realized? No clear answers emerged. Instead, the controversy continued growing, pulling more attention toward the individuals operating closest to the center of royal authority. And as speculation intensified, observers increasingly focused not on the gala that never happened, but on the people whose decisions appeared to be shaping the monarchy's future behind closed doors. As the controversy continued to grow, attention turned toward the people closest to the center of royal power. In the days that followed, palace insiders reportedly found themselves navigating a landscape filled with uncertainty. Every meeting, every appearance, and every private conversation attracted renewed scrutiny. Observers searched for clues, attempting to understand whether the disagreement had truly ended, or whether it marked the beginning of a deeper struggle over influence within the royal household. The answers remained hidden, but the questions only multiplied. The rejection may have been final, but the conversation surrounding it was anything but over. If anything, the decision opened a new chapter of speculation. Media attention intensified. Royal commentators revisited old debates. Every interaction between senior members of the royal family became the subject of analysis. What had started as a discussion about a gala was now being examined as a possible reflection of larger dynamics unfolding inside the institution. Reports suggested that palace aides worked quietly to prevent rumors from spiraling further. Yet uncertainty continued to spread. Questions lingered about what might happen next. Would the disagreement fade into history as a brief controversy, or had it exposed deeper tensions that would continue shaping future decisions? No one seemed able to agree. That uncertainty only fueled public fascination. Attention increasingly focused on Princess Anne and Queen Camilla, two figures whose names had become inseparable from the story. Supporters viewed Anne's actions as a firm defense of royal duty and institutional responsibility. Critics interpreted events differently. Regardless of perspective, few could deny that the episode had become one of the most talked about royal developments in recent memory. Long after the headlines fade, this episode may be remembered for something larger than a rejected gala. It highlighted the enduring influence of Princess Anne, the continuing importance of royal tradition, and the delicate balance of authority inside one of the world's most scrutinized institutions. Whether viewed as a procedural decision or a powerful statement, the rejection became a defining moment that few inside the monarchy are likely to forget. Its legacy extends beyond a single event. The controversy sparked broader discussions about influence, protocol, and the responsibilities attached to positions of power. Buckingham Palace remained at the symbolic center of those debates, reminding observers that decisions involving the crown are rarely as simple as they first appear. Small choices can carry enormous consequences. Quiet decisions can shape public perception for years. Perhaps that is why the story continues to resonate, not because a gala was denied, but because the decision forced people to confront larger questions about leadership, authority, and the future direction of the monarchy itself. Even now, questions remain unanswered. Future events will undoubtedly be viewed through the lens of what happened here. Future decisions may be compared against it, and future generations may look back on this moment as an example of how influence is exercised not through grand declarations, but through firm and deliberate choices. Because in the monarchy, the most consequential battles are often fought not in public view, but through the quiet decisions that shape the crown's future. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.